Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna go to London Zoo. It's the biggest zoo in whole of main London. That's the map of London Zoo. It has lots of animals. We're gonna have lots of fun. So, this is the bird safari. The bird safari. There's scarlet ibis and lots of other species of birds. So these are scarlet ibis. They're a bit like a mini flamingo. And this is the zookeeper feeding it something. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what they eat. And there's also a stork, species of stork and some animals, some birds. And then we saw some gibbons. You know, gibbons, they make these weird sounds. And then we saw babruza. Babruza. It's a bit like a... You know those wild pigs that you see in Africa? In like Africa? They're a bit like that. I think they're like a warthog. And then we saw Bactrian camel. Bactrian camel, they have a bit more fur and they have two humps. And the other species of camel is called dromedar. Dromedar have one hump and they don't really have that much fur. And then we went into the gorilla kingdom. Even though it says gorillas, there were also these type of monkeys. White-napped mangabees. White-napped mangabees. And then we saw the gorillas. Oh, you can see that baby. You can see that baby. Look at that gorilla. It's literally just lying down. You could see that. You know that one lying down there? That's literally a silverback, I think. The babies. They're literally playing. The babies are playing, and I think they're like practicing to become the grown-up silverbacks. And then we also saw that gorilla. He was literally picking her nose and eating her bogies. And then the babies were just chilling then. And then I was literally doing this to the silverback. That's the silverback. I think that was the silverback looking at me when I was, beating my chest like that. This is how tigers see you. So we went into the tiger territory, and there's a sign. This is how tigers see you. They see you as a big blob of meat. Can you roar? That thing didn't really work. So that tiger, the two tigers, and one, it just lifted his leg and was sleeping. And then we saw this amazing. Look. It was literally climbed up and it was literally grooming. Giant Samaritan tiger. These ones were Samaritan tigers. Samaritan. They're ginormous, right? Ginormous. Oh, you see that one? It just woke up and it's coming back. See the other one. The other one also went up. And now this one going into the shadows, disappearing. And now we're hunting the Komodo dragon. So before we saw the Komodo dragons, there was this other lizard. I forgot what it was called. I forgot. It had something like I forgot. And then this is the Komodo dragon. Oh my god, you can just see that skin. It's so hard. It's literally so rough. I didn't see that close. Oh my god. With one swipe, I'll literally be crying and asking for my mama. And then we saw emus. And we saw wallabies. Bennett's wallabies. And emus. Two Australian animals. And then my sister and me got some ice cream. We got ice cream. And then we went to the Monkey Valley. Unfortunately, monkeys were sleeping and we barely really even got to see any. And those monkeys were colobus monkeys. And then we went to the place called Welcome to Africa. We went to Africa. And then, unfortunately, again, we went to the pygmy hippos and we couldn't see them. And my sister by now got tired, so I had to pick her up again. So this is the difference between a pygmy hippo. A pygmy hippo weighs as much as 1 sumo. A common hippo weighs as much as 10 sumos. 10 times a pygmy hippo. And then, amazingly, there were 3 species of animal in one enclosure. There were 2 giraffes, 3 ostriches, and 3 zebras. Amazing. 1 ostrich right there, 1 giraffe right there, 1 zebra right there. And then we went to the okapis. The okapis, they're one of the most weirdest animals on earth, in the world. They're like a mix of a cow in the ears and zebras and horses. And now we're entering the lemurs. We couldn't see them in the enclosure, so then we have to go inside in this safari place. So near the enclosure of the lemurs, we saw this boy bucky, and this is the ring-tailed lemur. So fast, these ring-tailed lemurs. They're called ring-tailed lemurs because it's like the white tails have black rings on them, right? And then we went into the night area. We had to be very quiet. And then we saw it was some type of mouse. Some weird nocturnal animal. Shh. We went to see the eyes, but they weren't there. And now we come to an enclosure where lots of animals are there again. There are 3 different species of monkeys. There's a bat right there. They're 2-toed sloths. We didn't really get to see that. They're rats. And plus, they're turtles and they're tamaundas. I have no idea what those are. It was like there are lots of species of animals in this one. I felt like I'm really in the Amazon rainforest. I felt like that. And you could also book to go inside and feed those monkeys. And then we saw a golden lion tamarin. They're already like the size of a adult's hands. And then their babies were so tiny. Look, this is a little golden lion tamarin. And then it says meerkats, but actually inside they're mongooses. These are mongooses. These are the mongooses. There aren't really meerkats in that enclosure. There are actually mongooses in this enclosure. And then we saw the Asian small clawed otter. There it goes, right there. And then we went to reptiles and amphibians. We saw this type of turtle. I didn't know what it was. And then we saw this snake. It was a rhino something snake, because you see its horn. And then we saw the most amazing thing. The snake had a rat in its mouth. Look at that snake. We're in the different species now. Look at this. This is a bit bigger. It's like a tree boa. Yeah. And then we went to this. It's a newt, I think. Newt. Looks a bit like a salamander, the fire salamander. And then we saw this frog, but there weren't any frogs. We couldn't see frogs, but we did see its tadpoles. And then we saw the Chinese giant salamander. It's inside that small cave. This is like a sculpture of it. It's totally giant. And then we saw the rotty snake neck turtle. Very weird. Just look at that. It's like a rotty snake neck turtle. Name describes it. And this is a crocodile lizard. Very weird. And then we literally just saw an alligator. No, wait, is that an alligator? I'm not really sure. And then we saw the king cobra. Where I'm from, in Pakistan, there are king cobras over there. And where my dad's from, it's Shikarpur, the hot place, there are king cobras there. Lots of king cobras. There's somebody I know that got bitten by a king cobra and she passed away. And then we saw the giants of the Galapagos, something. They were giants. And then we went to the penguins beach. Look at these penguins. Beautiful. You can just see them swimming. Lots of people came here. This is like the popular one. You know, in the Penguins movie too. They took it from the octopus. And then we saw a macaw, I forgot what it's called. And then these are the something macaw. And I remember this is the blue-throated macaw. Although it's not G. And then we went into the we went in here. And in here, you literally were free in the open with monkeys. But you couldn't feed them anything, and you have to stay at least 1 meter away from each monkey. We were like 1 meter away, and it was so cute. And then we went to tiny giants. I was freaked out. I was freaked out. Literally, it's right there. I was freaked out. And literally, scorpions right there. Scorpion right there. Right there. And this is literally giant. And then we went here in the open where there's spiders in the open. Giant ones. Like this. I was so creeped out. I felt like crying. I was like, oh my god. And these are dead spiders showing the inside of their bodies. This was pretty cool though. And then here, the ants. They're collecting leaves and stuff. You can see that one is literally carrying it, and they can lift stuff up to 6 times their weight. Amazing. And then we saw these crickets. And then in the middle of that, we felt pretty hungry. So we saw this Umbrellas restaurant, and there was Indian street food, and we got some food. And after that, we saw the lion. These were some lions found in India. In India, the lions and tigers. Look at that giant male. It's totally giant. It kept going in circles. I was literally so close to the female. I was literally like 1 inch far. And then we saw this Reeves muntjac. A Reeves muntjac. And then we saw a greater flamingo and great white pelican in the same enclosure. For us, it was pretty unclear, and even for you guys, I guess, it's pretty unclear. Can we see? And these are all different bird eyes, I guess. They're literally so weird. All different types of bird eyes. And then we saw the red river hog. Pretty, not really red though. It's a bit like it's a mixed color. And then we went to the next enclosure, and what we saw were alpacas and llamas. After the llamas and alpacas, we saw vultures. The top scavengers in the sky in Africa. And for the next enclosure, we saw porcupines. We didn't really see their face because they were literally just taking a nap. They're so spiky and they're vegetarians. And then here we saw the meerkats. Here are the meerkats. And then we saw a coati. My mom said on the map that it was a ring-tailed lemur. Because on the map, for her, it looked a bit like a ring-tailed lemur. But actually, it's a coati, I told her. And then we went to a touchback dog. They were pygmy goats, and you could literally play with them and literally touch them. These are literally pygmy goats. They're pretty young because I saw their horns growing still. They're so cute. And then we saw a manglitz, a pig. I thought it was a sheep first when I saw it. Then we saw some burrowing owls. They're smaller than other owls we really see. They were like even a bit smaller than pigeons. They were like pigeon size or a bit smaller. But they were pretty small. I bet they were only gonna eat like maybe rodents or something. At the end of my zoo trip, when we were exiting the zoo, we saw this shop. It was shop and exit. You could buy anything you want. You could buy toys and gifts, puppets and clothes and magnets and literally everything related to animals. And this is where the animal toys were. There were literally billions of options. I recommend you to come to this zoo. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And you can book these zoo tickets online. And if you want to, you can just book them at the gate. This zoo is very fun, filled with lots of animals. I recommend you can come to the zoo. I repeat. Bye guys. See you next time.